New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here.
I am so glad you're here. Welcome to Who Do You Think You Are? A podcast to help you learn how to have the highest regard for yourself, how to live from a place of self-respect and self-love, and how to make yourself a priority in your life. Meet me here each week for curated tips and strategies designed to help you drop your psychological masks, or at least loosen them a bit, connect with your truest essence, and simply live more easily. Because we know that when we approach life this way, we naturally have more room, more generosity, and more love to give to others. And isn't that a beautiful thing? And when has it ever been needed more than right now? So welcome, welcome. I am fresh off of being a guest on the show right before mine, Reverend Jim Webb's The Miracle of Prosperity. And those of you who are familiar with his show know how great it is. And if you haven't tuned in, you would be in for a real treat if you do. So I was a guest, and tonight we talked about the connection between self-esteem and prosperity. And I think it was a very interesting, spirited conversation. And tonight, during this time, I'm going to try to expand on what Reverend Jim and I spoke about and go a little deeper if we can, and if time allows, answer a question after the break. So welcome, welcome. The title for tonight is Taking Gratitude All the Way to the Bank. Taking gratitude all the way to the bank. And bank can be in quotes, because bank isn't necessarily, Bank of America or Chase Bank. It's the bank in which we deposit and withdraw life's goodness, health, wellness, good interactions, benevolence, love. So we're going to talk about how our relationship with ourselves, we can call that self-esteem, has a direct bearing on how much prosperity and abundance we allow into our lives. So I hope you find that of interest. I like to say, if you polled 100 people, probably 1,000 people, probably many more than that, and you ask them, hey, what do you want most in life? What do you think most of those people would say? I think they would say, I want happiness. I just want to be happy. And then perhaps they would elaborate good health, meaningful partnerships, doing something with purpose. But I think overall, nearly everyone to a person would say, I want to be happy. But then if you ask them, well, are you? Are you happy? Or if not a yes or no, how about how happy are you? And what is happiness to you in the first place? But how happy are you? I dare say many would say not really that happy. Well, what do you think would make you happy? Well, I have a plan. And when I reach the destination of that plan, when I get the this, or I have the that, or I meet that person, then I just know then I will be happy. And don't we all do that? Of course, it's human nature, at least in this culture. It's human nature. So I want to talk about the, I guess it's an inverse correlation between those of us who deeply, deeply desire happiness and those of us who may not have as much as we would like. So I'm going to talk about what could be the reason for that. What is in the way? What are the impediments or the blockers to you having what I know you want? So if you're listening in a place where you can get really comfortable and grab a nice soothing beverage and kind of settle in, I invite you to do that and call to mind your deepest desires. Let's call them right up and make them conscious. Because the essence of tonight's conversation is, are you a good enough container, a right container to attract and receive and maintain that which you most deeply desire? So I'm going to be talking about containers. You know, containers hold things. If there's a leak in the container, of course, everything drains out. So we're going to be talking about where the leaky holes are in the container that is us, the container that is our mindset, our belief system. I don't believe abundance can happen without our minds being attuned to some key things. You know, I believe it's A Course in Miracles that says that prosperity is a state of mind. And it's the mind that most needs to be changed, not external circumstances. So when we think about being a good container, a right container, a strong container for abundance and prosperity, we're not going to talk about things like luck. We're not going to talk about things like, the planets have to be aligned before I get what I want. You may believe those things, and we'll touch on those, but we're going to talk about what we discover when we look inward at our potential blocks to abundance. So if you're with me, and I hope you are, let's begin to envision what you mean and what I mean when we say you want an abundant life. Because abundance, I think most will agree, is not just money. Abundance is health. It's meaningful work. It's meaningful engagement with other people. Abundance has to do with a flow, an in and out kind of circulation, if you will, where goodness, which incorporates the things I mentioned, flows to us and through us. To us and through us. And by the way, this would be a good time to mention, I hope I don't lose my train of thought. I've done that already tonight. But those of you who may have been listening to the show here know that we talk about self-love and self-respect and self-empowerment and making ourselves a priority in our own lives. But there's a big caveat that I want to mention there, and that's the energy that I believe and that I want to place on these conversations about making yourself your own priority. The energy on that is not one of me, 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 me. It's not, I've got to think about myself and other people have to think about themselves and that's it. So that's not the energy of making yourself a priority, because as I say in the intro, when we are in a state of flow, when we have, I'll call it a healthy dose of self-esteem, then we naturally, we cannot help but have the same generosity toward others. So mixed into this understanding of abundance is we can't ignore that some people on the planet are not feeling very abundant tonight, any night, these days. They're not feeling abundant. Perhaps they are living in strife or poverty. Perhaps they're living in either down the street or in another hemisphere. Well, one of my underlying beliefs is that there is enough on this planet to go around. There is enough. But I don't think the enough is distributed properly. And so when we talk about generosity of spirit and letting abundance in and receiving it and magnifying it, we're talking about also sending it outward. Sending it outward, sharing what we have. I heard a minister on television say one time, I was just clicking through, this was years ago, and I caught the part where I think he was talking about prosperity. Not I think, he was talking about prosperity, but I didn't really know what he was talking about at the time when I clicked in. And he said something that I think is so true. He said, you just might ask God, please just give me enough to pay my bills. I don't want any more than that. I'm not asking for too much. I just need enough to get by. And this minister said, who are you going to help with your broke self? If you just have enough to get by, how are you going to share that? And how are you going to be a light in the world? A light in your family, a light in your relationships, a light in your community, a light in this world, when you can't even keep your own lights on in your house. So to the extent that, and it's a large extent, that prosperity and abundance is an expression of and an outgrowth of our mindset and our relationship with ourselves, I invite you to really begin to examine where your consciousness is at regarding having and sharing abundance. Okay, so abundance blockers, those 100 people, 1,000 people, many more people who want happiness but don't necessarily experience it, and don't know why. I submit that there are some deeply buried beliefs that you hold, we all do. So when I say you, it's the collective, and I'm including myself in that. Beliefs. Now, the interesting thing about beliefs, of course, there's a lot of talk these days about work through your limiting beliefs. But here's the thing. We don't really know necessarily that our beliefs are beliefs. We need a little objectivity to understand that we're holding a belief and then operating in accordance with it. Beliefs with which we are very identified don't feel like beliefs. They just feel like what is. They just feel like the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is, I don't even stop to think about it in words. I'm using this as an example. The fact of the matter is abundance, prosperity, having things, being happy, having life flow. That's for other people. That's for other people. That's not for me. That's a belief. Now, the good thing about beliefs is they can be swapped out for different beliefs. Beliefs are not DNA. Having blue eyes is DNA. Nothing's really going to change that. But a belief is dynamic. It is interchangeable. And with enough awareness and willingness, that's the power couple, we can swap out our beliefs for ones that serve us and that can open the portal to things coming to us so we can enjoy them, and through us so that we can share them with other people. So one of the initial things we can do to locate our beliefs is listen to our inner dialogue or monologue. Now, the thing about an inner, I'll call it dialogue, is that we're so used to hearing it, we don't even notice it. We just call them just our thoughts and what we know to be true, what we think we know to be true, hence the name of the show, Who Do You Think You Are? Because when unexamined, we just take for granted, oh yeah, that's for other people. You know, they had a better start in life, and they may have. They're a better person. So this stuff just isn't meant to come my way. Listen to that, because we're going to need to unpack that. Listen for, and this is so interesting, listen to that inner voice and see if you can hear if there's a fear of failure there. A fear of failure. Oh, if I believe anything different about myself, what if I slip up? What if I disappoint someone? What if I let someone down? What if I let myself down? It feels uncomfortable. It feels too unsafe to step out. Again, these are unconscious thoughts. We won't hear them unless we are willing to get still and put a microphone, an amplifier up to those thoughts and catch them, because those become yeah buts. Yeah, this is nice. Yeah, there's money all around. Yeah, keep talking, Kathy. That's that. But not for me, because I made a huge business mistake, at some point in my life. I'm afraid of money because I saw my dad, go through bankruptcy, and that was hell. And so I don't even know that I have this thought, but I have the thought that money is, things can go wrong with money. Oh, I want money. I want to travel. I want these things. But deep down, underneath, behind the veil, is money can be dangerous. I can have it and I can lose it. And who wants that? So the unconscious says, I've got you. I'm going to make it so you never have to worry about that. I'm going to keep you in a state of striving. I'm going to keep you in a state of lack so that you don't have to ever worry about having too much and then losing it. How do you like that? To which I say, and I encourage my clients to say, you thank your unconscious. Thank you, unconscious. Thank you for giving me that I don't know, that stumbling block, because you were trying to keep me safe. I appreciate that. Thank you. But you know what? I've got the wheel from here. I can figure this out because I can read things. I can listen to people. I can have conversations. I can open my mind. I can expand my consciousness, and I can begin to look at this differently. So thanks, unconscious, for doing your job and trying to keep me safe. That's the purpose of the unconscious. It records everything we've ever done, puts it in a thing, shakes it up, and just has us behave in ways, has us think and then behave in ways that keep us safe, but that don't serve us. So we have to listen to ourselves. And then we may have a fear of success. How do you like that? You're familiar with fear of failure, but what about fear of success? If I have it, I don't know, that's going to be a different identity. Again, not that we say these words, hence unconscious. I see myself as a struggler. That's what I do. I struggle. And I twist things. I turn over every rock. I go up that hill. I'm a struggler. I want to be happy. I want to do all these things, but my identity is that of struggler. That's what my t-shirt says. And if I see myself as being more prosperous, that doesn't match how, who I think I am. Who I think I am. I don't deserve to be successful. Again, I don't deserve to be successful. Success comes to some other kind of person. I'm afraid if I'm successful, this is a big one. I hear it often. What are other people going to think? They're going to think I'm arrogant. I'm full of myself. They're going to judge me. So whether it's fear of failure or fear of success, those bookends, here we are in the middle, trying to get by, wanting to be happy, feeling frustrated. Sometimes it makes us feel sick because we're caught where we don't belong. It is everyone's birthright to be abundant. It is everyone's birthright. Now, as I said, we don't distribute resources properly. That's another conversation. But I think if more of us embraced our abundance and embraced our prosperity in the ways in which I'm discussing, I think there would be more benevolence in the world, and we could give our brothers and sisters a hand. So that begins to map out the foundation of being a good container. A good container is tied into self-worth, and self-worth is an aspect of self-love and self-esteem and self-respect. So all of these things are in the hopper. Since they're in the hopper, let's let them swirl a bit. Let's digest these concepts, and let's take a break. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit more and take a question. So you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are on New Thought Media Network. Stay with me.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa. Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center. Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here.
And welcome back. If you're just joining us, you are listening to Who Do You Think You Are? And tonight we're talking about being a good, solid container for abundance, prosperity in every context of our life, not just financially, but in terms of relationships, in terms of meaningful work, meaningful interactions, living life with a purpose, and just being in the flow of the goodness of life. And I talked about some of the blockers, and they're hidden. The hidden unconscious blockers could be fear of failure. What if I make a mistake? What if I blow it? To a fear of success. What if I have these things and then I lose the person? If it's relationship abundance, what if that person leaves me or passes away? What if something happens? The business goes out, or the algorithms kick me off, or whatever the case. These are all unconscious blockers: fear of failure, fear of success, fear of unworthiness, or belief I'm unworthy. I talked about how these beliefs don't really even necessarily register in our minds as beliefs. They're just a part of who we are. So we have to get real still with ourselves and listen, really listen to the inner dialogue we have with ourselves to catch what our beliefs are, right? To see what our role models did with things like money, what they did with their relationships, what they did with other people, how they responded to things, because these were our teachers. So all of this is in the hopper as we talk about being a good container. I had a mentor some years ago who used to say about abundance, she used to say, if you're not a good container for abundance, she said, I could hand you a check for $1 million and you'll lose it on the way to the bank. And I thought, that's cute. And then I had a client who did exactly that. I wrote about that client in my newsletter this morning. She came into a large sum of money, lots of zeros, unexpectedly. And she literally lost the check. She eventually found it, but it took a couple of days of anguish. Okay. Now you might say, well, that can happen to anyone. She was overwhelmed with excitement. She was, freaked out by the prospect of being wealthy. suddenly. Maybe. And probably both of those things were true. But then she told me that, she goes, Kathy asked me, did I invest the money wisely? I said, did you? And she said, no, I don't think I did. And my accountant agrees with me. So, okay, we could debate that. Did she have good financial advice or whatever? But I submit to you that it's worthwhile to look more deeply and look at the unconscious blocks, because if you don't feel worthy, the money, the prosperity, the work prosperity, all the ways are not going to feel congruent with who we think we are, what we think we deserve. And anything that doesn't feel congruent, we repel, because we as human beings are attracted to pleasure and we avoid pain. And so something that feels incongruent, even if it's something delicious, we will kind of spit it out. And we don't know why. And that's called self-sabotage. Why did I do that? Why did I blow that money? Why did I act that way with this new relationship? Why did I push that person away? Now, any one of these questions could have other deeper, answers and aspects to them. But there's a common thread that I believe runs throughout. And it's this notion of how we see ourselves is how we behave, is how we get through life. Right? So let me turn to the comments. I see there's some activity here. Leandra, hello from Knoxville. Greetings, glad you're here. Jennifer says, I'm watching and taking notes. LOL. Very good. Very good. I think this is noteworthy. Not because I'm saying it, of course, but because it is. It is what it is. Still, Bill, the NA philosophy, Narcotics Anonymous, is, quote, we can only keep what we have by giving it away, unquote. That's the 12th step. So true. We can only keep what we have by giving it away. Holding it. Is there a Native American proverb? We should hold love in our hearts. And I think all these other manifestations of abundance, we should hold that in our hearts the way we hold sand in our hands, with some level of openness, but enough to hold enough for ourselves and for others. And when we give what we have away to others, we tell ourselves that we have enough to go around. And that's called not living from scarcity. Oh, I have to clutch that sand. Because if you clutch the sand with a closed hand, what happens? You squeeze it all out. So there you are with your clutched hand, but what do you have? But giving it away there's a phenomenon. It multiplies. Generosity multiplies. Acceptance multiplies. On and on. So thank you, Bill. Still Bill. Still Bill is still with us, making that intention, that promise to himself. Jennifer, again, what if we aren't afraid to be abundant? What other blockers are there that could be stopping us from finding abundance and happiness? What if we aren't afraid to be abundant? What other blockers are there? Well, Jennifer, I don't know if you're in a position to add any more to your question, but when I say afraid, most people think that we experience a fear by being afraid the way we're afraid of getting stung by a bee or something like that. We don't. Here's the interesting thing, and maybe this is what your question gets to. And for that, I'm very grateful, because we don't recognize these blockers as fears because they don't feel like a bumblebee. They are hidden, very back of the mind, low level subtle, if this, then that. As I said, what if I have the money or the great job and then I lose it? Or what if I have that job or business and I'm making money and I'm creating nice relationships? What's that going to require of me? How much effort is that? What will I have to give up in order to maintain that level of prosperity? So that's a fear, but you might not experience it as a trembly thing. So unless you want to add anything to that, Jennifer, I suspect that the fear you're talking about can be viewed as unrecognized, unconscious whispers of who you are or what your level in life is. I come, for example, I come from a middle class family, and and that's my family of origin, and the family I have, we're middle class too, and in consciousness there could just be an acceptance. This is called a fear, but you don't have to use that word. An acceptance that this is as good as it gets for me, because this is my lot, this is my level, no big deal, this is just how it is, and we don't question it. But we look in the, we try to get a better job, we send our resumes out. The universe cannot, if you subscribe to the powers of the universe and the laws of the universe will only match our vibration. So if our vibration, and you know what I mean by vibration, how we are with ourselves, how we see ourselves, that has a frequency to it. It's, joyful has one frequency. Expecting, to not ever get ahead, that has another vibe. The universe matches our vibe. So when in doubt, raise your vibration. That's the key. If you raise your vibration, Jennifer, I bet, try this. Things will start to happen, but you can't change the thing. You can't pursue the external and try to change that. You have to change what you believe about yourself in the realm of having. Okay? So thank you, Jennifer. Write more if you can or want to, or next time. We're going to be talking about this topic, week to week. It's going to, everything I talk about gets integrated more and more and more. Other questions? Janine, perhaps it's just that all other blockers are rooted in a false belief, a fear. That's exactly true. And if you were listening to Reverend Jim Webb in the last hour, he spoke to that. He said that our false beliefs can be rooted in a deeper belief that we are somehow a mistake. We have gotten misinformation, disinformation about ourselves from parents, from caregivers, society at large. Don't be this way, be that way. And so our natural state was oftentimes, we got talked out of them, if you will. We got talked out of our natural state of who we were. So, yeah, a false belief. And, I happen to have this book. It's called Unmasked, Discover the Hidden Powers of Your True Self. And it's all about our false self, all about the persona that we adopt and craft and polish to not look like the person we really are on the inside, because we judge that person, because we feel our mistaken self believes we're not good enough. So if you want to read more about it, I invite you to take a look at that book and so many others written on our false self. Thank you, Janine, for that. Stephania, welcome, welcome, welcome. Why do some people who suffer with self-worth issues seem to have it all, money, love, etc.? While I know I suffer with self-worth issues and I struggle with money, health, and things. Let me read. Why do some people who suffer with self-worth issues seem to have it all? Money, love, etc. While I know I suffer with self-worth issues and I struggle with money. Okay, I got you, Stephanie. Great question. Great question. Well, number one, I know exactly what you're talking about. I would say don't glorify what you observe in other people. Don't glorify it. Don't Photoshop their head on your life, if you will. Why do I say that, Stephania? I say it because I know many clients, many people who, if this were Dancing with the Stars, let's say, would score a 10 in the realm of, let's say, money. Years ago, I worked exclusively with traders on Wall Street, Manhattan, and that was my practice. And I'll tell you something. The overwhelming majority, and I did that for about a decade, so I think that's a good random sampling. The majority of those clients who were swimming in money, this was in the 80s, I submit to you, you would not want to be in their marriages necessarily. You would not want to be their child or their parent. And I don't say that judgmentally. I say it as a matter of evaluation. You can look at someone like that and you can fill in the blanks and embellish and think, if I were that person and I had that money, I'd be all set to go. But you don't know that person's life. So don't glindify it. Don't glorify it. Don't embellish it. Instead, use the contrast and get into the law of attraction a little bit. Read up on it if you're not that familiar with it, or listen to podcasts devoted to it, because the law of attraction says what I have within me, the vibration, what I radiate out attracts like to me. So redirect to your own life. What you want money, health, and other things, as you wrote there. This is important. The contrast that you experience, some people have those things and I don't, and I want those things. Use your want as a beacon. I know I want more prosperity. I know I want better health. So you don't have to be like them. We don't have to get into what a colleague of mine calls comparanoia, right? Come to your own lane and say, what can I do with my own beliefs? i.e., do I believe I deserve money and health and other things? And if the answer on that is yes, I believe I deserve it, then look to your behavior. Are you making choices? Are you taking action in this, in ways that are aligned with what you want and say you deserve? You have to reduce the degree of incongruence. Use what you admire in other people to say, I'll have what she's having. Now, I don't know what she's doing to get it, and I don't know what else she has going in her life. None of my business. But I know what's going on in my life. And examine the steps that you take. And think congruence. Congruence actually happens to be my word, my personal word of the year, because I see where I'm out of step. I want over here, but I'm doing and not doing over here. So I got myself a hydration buddy, because I don't like to drink water and I have to hydrate and I can't do it. And so I got a hydration buddy, and she's also my walking buddy, and I haven't walked. So we have to do something about me there. But Point being, the blockers are waiting to be exposed, and your awareness can do it. Okay? I hope that began to answer your question. If you have a follow-up or you want to come back next week or anytime, I'll be happy to follow that up. Why do some people seem to have it all? Well, have it all, if they have it all, you're welcome. You're welcome, Stephania. If they have it all, maybe they've done this work, and maybe their consciousness is at such a point they've earned it. But I think most of us take a glimpse of what we see in someone, one brush stroke, if you will, and paint the whole picture. And then we lament where we are because we feel so far away from that. But try this on. Try this on. We don't get what we say we want. This is one of my mottos. We get what we feel we deserve. Examine those messages. Examine them. Get quiet. You'll hear something. I feel confident you will. So, I was going to take a question, but Stephania, that's the question of the night. And Janine, your point, and Bill, everyone's point, Jennifer, Leandra, and anyone listening. Container. Let's plug up those leaky holes. And let's know that abundance and prosperity and flow is everyone's birthright. Playing it small doesn't help anyone. Doesn't help anyone. So, just scrolling through my mind, seeing if there's anything else I want to say as a last word. It's all about our inner landscape. Our inner landscape, our inner garden. We have to, the way any garden, you need good soil. Lousy soil and good soil. Soil that's been properly fertilized. That's where these ideas and concepts and awarenesses grow from. Leandra, I think you're talking about refining our focus, looking toward what we want. We have to know what we want. So many times I talk to my clients and they're like, I don't know, this doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel right. That feels like it's not going well. Well, what do you want? I ask them. I don't know what I want. That's step one, is to go in search of what you want in the big categories. And then ask yourself, if it's money, Stephania, ask yourself, would I be happy? Now, of course, if I said, do you want, $10 million? Okay. I venture most people would say, yeah, sign me up. I want $10 million. But let's start with, how would you feel if you made 10,000 more a year? How would you feel? Are you good with that? Okay, I'm good. How would you feel if you made 20,000 more a year? And go up the scale and see if you hit a point at which you get a little antsy, a little cringy. It's the same thing with weight. I want to be slim. I want, trim. I want to be fit. Okay, can you lose 5 pounds? How would that feel? That would feel great. Can you lose 10? Absolutely. I'd love to lose 10. What about 20? Yeah, I don't know how I'll do it. Well, I'm not asking you how. How would you feel if you attained it? Right, 20? Yeah, okay, antsy. 25, 30? I don't know, I'd feel weird. I'd feel too weird. That's how you repel it right there. I want it, but I'd feel too weird. People might look at me. People might compliment me. People might notice me. I'm used to being beige and hanging out in the background. If I get the body I picture in my head, my identity, I might be a little rattled. So with money, with health, with relationships, go up the ladder incrementally and see where you hit a point of resistance, because where you do, I submit that you have some kind of fear there or block. Even if it's not a bumblebee fear, it's a limiting, stifling belief that you've just internalized as a part of you. So, with all of this, let's go out this week being mindful of the containers we are. And that applies to if someone says a nice thing to you, gives you a compliment, praises you for something, I challenge you to accept it, because that could be your beginning. And notice how it feels going down. No excuses, no explanations, just a gracious, open-hearted, if you can, thank you. And check yourself how that feels. Does it feel like warm honey going down? Oh, that feels lovely. Or does it feel incongruent with how you see yourself? Start there. Do your repetitions, okay? That's how you're going to exercise the muscle of consciousness. Friends, it's been a pleasure. Those of you who have been with me for the past 2 hours, wow. Thank you so much. I'm honored. Those of you who have been with me each week, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Those of you who are listening at any time in the future, thank you for tuning in. I'm thinking of you. I don't know who you are, but I'm thinking of you. As always, if you're listening live, it's a Sunday night, 10 o'clock. Some of you are getting ready for bed or are in bed. Close those open tabs. Wind it down. Trust that your problems, your issues, your challenges will be there in the morning. And just for tonight, let it all go. Let it all go. You are loved and you are love. So until next week, this is Catherine Duca. You're listening to Who Do You Think You Are on New Thought Media Network. Good night.